after I've died, and then the revenue is being made in my absence, where does the revenue go, and who is responsible, or what do they use the revenue for?
Can copyright be transferred between countries internationally?
People are doing cover versions, they don't get licenses, and they are doing whatever. It's an infringement. So make sure you protect it. And if you are protecting, then you are granting more licenses, you'll be getting more money.
Is it very necessary to have like a written agreement for the transfer of the copyright?
If a work has been transferred to me,
Yeah.
do I have the right to change any part of the work?
What are the procedures put in place to revoke the copyright transferred?
Hello, welcome back. This is Binoska IP Zone, and this day we also want to look at transfer of copyright. And this is our 13th episode. If you have some questions and you think this episode is actually not addressing it, please go back and listen to all previous ones and you'll be able to address your issues. Right, so back in the studio here, I've got wonderful guests in my presence, and we have in-house people who would also want to ask questions. But before I do that, this is Uprise Music Production. What we do is to publish and distribute your works for you, both music, audio, and music video. So we'll be able to help you with that. Try and make money by using our services, and I'm sure you'll be happy and be smiling, of course, at the end of the day, but that's the most important thing. Share this video, like, and subscribe as well. Let's come to studio and see my wonderful guest I have here. Let me start from the gentleman on my left. Your name, please, and where you come from?
Samuel Banajan. I'm a student.
Samuel Banajan, a student. And lady?
My name is Max, and I'm a recording artist and a social media influencer.
Okay. Max, what's your full name?
Margaret Doe.
Margaret Doe. Okay, that's great. So today we want to look at transfer of copyright. When we say transfer of copyright, we are basically looking at how the ownership of the work can be transferred from one point to another. But here, ownership here means the economic rights. So if you don't understand what economic rights, make sure you listen to one of our previous episodes, episode 12, you'll be able to understand. So transfer here means that the owner of a copyright work may transfer the economic rights to another person, either in whole or in part. And the transfer, whether in whole or in part, shall not include the moral right in it. So you can only transfer the economic right, like I said, because the name would never change. And then the economic right too, you can transfer in whole, like all the work. I transfer it to Megs for the rest of my life. Megs should be able to make money out of it, sell, reproduce, adapt, and whatever for that. And then my name will still be retained as Binoska if I am the right owner. Then also we say a contract which requires the total transfer of the rights to refer in section 6 shall be limited in scope to the use provided for in that contract. So for example, if I want to transfer my copyright works to you, and then we have to write a contract, then I have to determine the scope. I cannot transfer the work for you forever and ever. If it is forever and ever, then the contract should say so. If it is for 5 years, the contract should say so. And if it is for a limited period of time, the contract should also say. Copyright may be transferred by assignment, testamentary disposition, or operation of law. Now, let's devise this and see what it really means. When we say by assignment here means that I am Binoska, and then let's assume that Megs is my daughter, okay, or my wife. Then I said, okay, for the rest of my time, I want to assign my rights to you. that you should get money from my work. You should do this, you should do that. Testamentary here means that you make a will and then you are the testator. So you say that if I am dead and before my work will fall under public domain, Samuel should enjoy this, should have 40% in my royalties that come. This one should enjoy this one should. So that is by testamentary. You are telling us what your right should be used for. And that is what it means. And then by operation of law simply here means that you make a public declamation or you write it, you go to a notary republic, a lawyer or a barrister. You say that I want to write this. I want to declare that I don't want any money from my work ever again. That is your whole issue. You are transferring it into public domain. And public domain here means that your work no longer enjoys any economic right. That is what it means by public domain. So by declaration. An assignment of copyright shall be in writing and signed by the owner of the copyright or by the person authorized by the owner of the copyright for the purpose to the assignor. So here, assignee is the person who has the right and the assignor is the person who is now going to take it. So you cannot just say with your mouth that I'm assigning my works to this person. It should be in writing. It shall be in writing. Now, let's look at a license to do an act that falls within copyright may be oral, written, or referred from conduct. Now, license here simply means that let's assume that somebody wants to make an advert and they want to use your video for that advert or your song for that advert or for your artwork or for your craft, anything that you have created. And then you, the person, the owner, you pick your own song and you pick Meg's, maybe her shoe or a watch, and you are saying, oh, buy this shoe, buy the watch. By your conduct, you are actually using your song to promote another person by license. And you cannot later change your mind and say that I did this work and nobody paid me. No, who asked you to do that? By your conduct, you are assigning your song to that product for advertisement for free. Whether they pay you money or not, it is neither here nor there because your own conduct is portraying that wise. And then also by another assignment here, it says by the authorization of joint authors. So for example, if two people wrote a song, one person cannot decide to sign the right to somebody or license another person. Two people must agree. So let's assume that myself and Max and Samuel, we created a song equally and we all have equal ownership in the work. And then we want to sign the right to, let's say, Michael for Uprise Music promotions. And then one person say, no, the two of us cannot say that, no, we would still not listen to you and still license. No, it has to go to court for court to decide why the person is refusing to assign his right or he's confirming the two of us. And it is not like majority votes. Like they say, oh, two people agree, that is why I use it. No, the law says that it lies in the bosom of the court to be able to determine that. Where a work of is of joint authorship and one of the joint authorship withholds consent to an assignment or granting of a license, the matter shall be referred to the copyright administrator to determine whether or not consent shall be granted in respect of the assignment or license under the conditions for the grant. So this is what the law says. You cannot just get up and say one person is not agreeing. And if you are not happy with the decision of the copyright administrator, you can still go to court. In fact, if I go to court straight away. A person dissatisfied with the decision of the copyright administrator may apply to High Court for review. Okay, so every decision the copyright administrator makes in terms of transfer of ownership, it is like a tribunal court. So you straight go to High Court for review. Okay, you don't go and file the case again. If you file the case again, you will lose the first round because it has already been decided. Right. An assignment or license or testamentary disposition may be made or granted in respect of an existing work or future work. So even before you create a song, you can say that, oh, in the future, I will write a book. And so in that book, I want this person to own this right. I want this person to own this right, okay? Or I want to transfer that right to this person. So if you do that, then whatever happens in the future, that assignment still holds because you have preempted who should have the assignment or should have the license or who should own the economic right. But this will not change the moral right. That is the name being associated with it. So when we say transfer of copyright, these are what it actually means. And by extension, using a song for adverts, for synchronization in a movie, for commercial purposes, for any other thing, it doesn't matter who owns the transfer of the copyright. Anybody who owns it will still have the same power as the author of the original work to be able to enforce every infringement that the person perceives to be taking place. So, for example, if your father has bequeathed with you his properties, which are songs and movies and artworks and that, until 70 years passes, you still have the right as that of your father to be able to go to court and say that I ban this person from not using this work, or I license this person to do this, I license this person to do that, because I have a license, I have an assignment from this, or the ownership has been transferred to me, but the name will not change. So this is what it actually means by transfer of copyright. I would want to add a brief thing, obligation of producers to it, then I'll come back to the studio. Now, the producer of a sound recording or audiovisual shall state the label of the sound or the audio work or on its container. 1. The name of the author and those of the main performers, the title of the work, the year the original matrix was cut, the individual or corporate name or the distinguishing mark of the producer, and that the rights accruing to the producer under this act are reserved. Choirs, orchestras, composers shall be referred to by their proper names or by the name of the leader for the purpose of this act, and the copyright protection of a work shall not depend on the obligation of the producers specified in this section. So if you are a producer, you have an obligation. Any video, whether video or audio, in terms of copyright, your work as a producer is to be able to make sure that the name of the author is fixed in the work, and those who are contributing factors, so the backup singers, the lead vocalist, the guitarist, the bassist, the blah, 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 they should all be added. And then the title of the work, the year in which the original song was cut, it should be stated. And then the individual or the corporate organization who paid for the work, or a specific symbol that should show by the producer should also be identified. And then the rights accruing to the producer and the rate should also be stated. So whether the song is transferred to anybody, the producer's obligation is to make sure that all these details are spelled right. And so therefore, producers have also an obligation to make sure that these things are done. So if a producer, you make a song and a producer by mistake puts somebody else's name or changes the title you say it should be there, then it means the producer has infringed on your rights.
Okay.
And if you go to court, you may be able to win, because whatever you have decided, it should stand. And this is what brings us to my transfer of copyright and then obligation of producers. Let me come to studio and see my questions.
So, Oscar, I have a question. The number one question is, can copyright be transferred between countries internationally?
Okay, so it is not, if it's the whole Ghana decide to create a song and Ghana want to transfer the song to Brazil, that is maybe possible, but we all know that Ghana is not a one person to be able to write a song. But you as an artist, you create your song and you want to transfer your right to somebody in Brazil. It is fine. You want to transfer it to somebody in Greece, Athens, Jamaica, Tanzania, wherever you want to transfer your rights to. That is possible.
Okay, so say in your presentation, you made mention that, for example, me as an artist, during my lifetime on Earth, before I died, I signed a will that when I die, all revenue that will be made from my work, it should be thrown into public domain.
Yeah.
Okay, so after I've died, and then the revenue is being made in my absence, where does the revenue go, and who is responsible, or what do they use the revenue for?
Okay, right. So once you publicly declare that you don't want any economic rights from your work, then it means money is not coming from anywhere. That is what it means. So as to where whoever plays your song, whatever you do with his money, I cannot be able to say. But if you have not declared that your song should go into public domain, then whenever the song is collected, and then you belong to a collective management organization, then they will collect the money and then look for you or whoever you willed your song to as an artist. Let's say, and by law, it is also known that by our Wills Act, that if you die as a musician or as an actor, and even if you had not made a will, automatically your children, your mother and your wife, if they are alive, they are the first rightful owner before by extension it goes to external families. So if you make your song and you have not listed anybody as an owner, it means you die intestate. It means you have died without a will. So by the PNDC law 111, intestate succession law, it will come into copyright and then state that your copyright is your also property and ownership. And so therefore your children who are below 18 years are the ones that are supposed to benefit. And if they're even above 18 years, they have their rights in it, then so be it. Okay. Any other question?
Okay, so what rights does the copyright owner has after transferring the copyright to another person?
Okay, so whatever agreement that you had with anybody that you transfer the economic right to the person, the remaining right for you is your name being associated with it. Even if you transfer the rights to anybody in terms of a license or assignment or even a will, and whilst you are alive, they are using the work in a way that you think it doesn't befit your belief systems, your moral knowledge, your morality, you can still change your mind. Yes, you can still change your mind that I have transferred to you, but whatever you are doing, I don't like it, so I want to rescind my decision. There are procedures to go through by law.
Okay, so are there revocations? Like if you want to revoke the transfer of a copyright to someone, what are the procedures put in place to revoke the copyright transfer to somebody?
Okay, so in the first place, the contract that you agreed to transfer would give what we call foreclosures. Foreclosures simply means exiting clauses. Okay. So how will this contract end? This license I'm granting this person, how will it end? Okay, so I'm granting you a license for 5 years. If it is 5 years, then automatically on the day that 5 years comes, it has finished. The right still reverses back to you, or for a specific purpose. We want to create a movie called Uprise Music in the Making. And so I transfer my rights to you to use it for this movie. Once that movie is done, and as long as that song is in it, the right has ended. If they want to make something new, they have to come back to you, because assignment or license are also done on purposeful basis. So you decide on a specific basis, so you have to go back. You don't say that I was granted a license to do this Uprise Music movie in the making, and then I want to say Uprise Music Heritage Month, so you want to use the same song. No, you have to go back to the original author and still go get another license, because that is for the purpose. Yeah.
Okay, so after rights have been transferred to another person and the 70-year duration is up, how does the person renew the contract, or what's next for the person?
Good. So if the contract is for 70 years and the person is still alive, then you go to the person who granted the license if you wish to extend your license to do the same process. And here I would wish you get a lawyer to be able to draft a proper contract license for you, or proper assignment license for you. And it is not just by oral. Sometimes oral contract works, but as to whether you'll be able to get witnesses to prove your case. So I wish it is written, and once it is written, it is stated, and then therefore you sign, your witness will also sign, and that signer or the licensor will also sign, and then to be able to see that, okay, once I am the person who has this right, in the next 10 years, if I wish to renew it, you go back to the same source through the same procedure. If you don't do that and you redo what you have to, you think you still have the license, you have yourself to blame.
Benoska, is it possible to transfer copyright to different people simultaneously at the same time?
Okay, right. It is possible based on the contract. So, for example, one company will say, we want to use your song for this advert, and we wish to have exclusive rights for the next 10 years. So once that license has been granted and you wish to continue, all you need to do is just go back to the original source. But the whole idea is that once you get a license, the time limit allocated to you, you can be able to say that, okay, now I have granted a license to somebody in Brazil. I want them to use it for this. And the contract gives me an open window to be able to transfer to another person in another country. You can still do that. But other people, like I said earlier, would say that we want exclusive license, that we should not license anybody else to use this particular song for this particular purpose until 10 years. So once you agree and you sign, then if you go contrary to that, then you have rather infringed, you have breached the contract. So that is what I want you to know, and so that you try to avoid that. But you can grant license to multiple people for different multiple purposes if your contract allows that.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are the potential risks involved in granting copyright to other parties?
For transfer of copyright. Okay. So there's a case here in Ghana which was between a Ghanaian and a Nigerian. So they did a license, and a license here was to a particular movie, produce this movie here in Ghana. And then the person also took the movie and went and produced it in Nigeria and started selling Nigeria. And then the same right owner had also found another company in Nigeria that, oh, I'm granting you this license to produce here and sell. So it hit the market, and then there were two different things. Then he said, no, I asked you to produce only here in Ghana. And this one was for this Nigeria. And the person said, no, you granted me license for 5 years, and we did not agree the scope of where my license should end. So I also have the right to produce it wherever I want to produce. It went into court, and the court had to decide. And so these are the issues that comes in. Sometimes it goes to court, and they will say, we want to settle out of court. The court will agree. You go settle, come with a decision. And if you agree, the court affirms your decisions you've made outside the court through the ADR, what is the alternative dispute resolutions. So that is how some of these issues are tackled. But it all boils down to making sure that you maximize your profit. So if your contract will allow you to make sure you get more money, it's good for you. If it doesn't, then...
Okay. Is it very necessary to have like a written agreement for the transfer of the copyright? Is it a must to do that?
It is the best to do. That's how I would say it. Because if it is written and there are witnesses they've signed, at least if the assignee is not alive, you, the signer, could be able to use that to advantage. Okay? Because the person who gave you the license is dead, and his signature is there, and there was somebody who also witnessed, then it becomes your advantage. But if it's by oral, and he's dead, and you have nothing to prove, there's no witness to testify, then you may stand to lose money, because if he took money from you, and therefore the person is dead, and then by testamentary, his children are now going to assign it to somebody else, it means you've lost money. But if you have a document to prove that indeed I paid this money to get this license, then it benefits you.
Okay, so
by extension, I'm saying that I prefer you go by the written than the oral contract.
Okay, so say in a circumstance where person A from, let's say, US, and then USA, and then person B from Ghana, they come together and then they put together a work, and then it was time to like transfer the right to someone else, and that was the decision of person A. Person B didn't agree, which it was a disagreement.
Yeah.
At that instance, what do both parties have to do?
So both parties can go to court straight away, or they can go to the copyright administrator. And basically, whoever that is disagreeing will have to take the first initiative. If the person in Ghana decides to use the copyright office, then he has to go to the copyright office here in Ghana. And if the person in US disagreeing, then he can also go to US copyright system to be able to look at that. The system is basically a universal language that is able to solve problems irrespective of where you are. And so I think it will be able to dealt with, and that is by that. Any more questions?
Yes, I do have a question. So does the transfer of the copyright actually hinder the original creator's rights over the copyright transfer?
It doesn't hinder, but it just gives them an economic gain. Let's say, for example, you've made a song and you are waiting for 10 years to get a profit of 10 million. But one license, it comes to you today. They say, we want your song, we want you to license us for the next 15 years to be producing it. And we are giving you $10 million now, 10 million Ghana cedis now. Then it's an advantage for you, okay? Because you may need the money to do something right away. But if you are waiting for 15 years before you get that, by the time you get to that 15 years, you will not be able to put up together that money. But a license can grant you one big time money, and it's good. So it's a good thing. Depends on how you forge your contract.
Brings me to another question. What's the distinction between a license and an agreement?
Okay, so a license is basically agreement between 2 or 3 people on a specific purpose.
What's a license and an agreement?
Yes.
License and assignment.
Assignment.
Yes.
Okay. So assignment here means that I am giving you the right to be able to do this. So I've assigned my right to you.
Okay.
But a license is that I have my right. I am only giving you this song to go and use it for this purpose. Okay. When you finish, I still have my song. Okay. So a license here means you want to do an advertisement. You want to use Patience Nyako. So, okay, then you have the license to go and do the advert. Fine. But if Patience Nyako decide that, okay, Binoska, I want to assign my rights to you, that anybody who wants to get a license should go through Binoska. Or my manager has the assignment to give that license to people. Then it means the person has that kind of form of transfer of copyright. And a license is also another form of transfer of copyright. So that is the distinction. Yeah.
Okay, so say if a work has been transferred to me, do I have the right to change any part of the work, or do I have the right to be able to sample the work? Like,
yes. Well, if a license has been granted to you, if it's a license, then whatever you are supposed to do within that license is a contract. It must be stated in the license agreement. But if it's an assignment, or let's say testamentary, where your father is dead or your mother is dead or whoever is dead that has bequeathed the work to you, then you have every right to do whatever you want to do. But license comes with specific things not to do and to do. In the absence of any further questions, let me wrap up and say that transfer is not a disadvantage, it's an advantage. But most people don't really care of what is going on in the system. People are doing cover versions, people are doing this, they don't get licenses, they don't get assignment, and they are doing whatever. It's an infringement. So make sure you protect it. And if you are protecting, then you are granting more license, you'll be getting more money, and it will benefit you. This is Binoska IP Zone on our 13th episode. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and share. And it is brought to you by, of course, Uprise Music Production. Use that for your publication and distribution. This is Binoska, I'm telling you.